Good morning. Today's Bible reading is Matthew 17. Just woke up, getting my spiritual food. Very important to read the Bible and fill up with God's spiritual food every day. The bread of life, the living water. Chapter 17 in Matthew. Now after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother. So James and John are brothers. Led them up on a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. The Mount of Transfiguration. This is cool. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Wow. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." Wow. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and suddenly a voice came out of the cloud, saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." So here's God confirming from heaven that Jesus Christ is his Son. So that proves that Jesus is the Son of God. And Jesus is God, of course. "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." They fell on their faces and were greatly afraid. But Jesus came and touched them and said, "Arise, do not be afraid." This is a reoccurring thing. Jesus will come and he'll always say, "Do not be afraid." Love you, God, for that. Do not be afraid. When they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. So this, in the previous chapter, God mentioned there's some of you that standing here will see the Son of Man before they die in all his glory. And so this could actually be referring to that, because now Peter, James, and John just saw the Son of Man coming in all the glory of his Father. So before tasting death. So this is probably what they were mentioning in the previous chapter about that sentence. When they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. Now as they came down from the mountain, Jesus commanded them, saying, "Tell the vision to no one, until the Son of Man is risen from the dead." Jesus again predicting his death and resurrection. And his disciples asked him, saying, "Why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" Interesting, because Elijah is going to come during the tribulation period with another prophet, which would most likely be Moses or Enoch. I'm assuming it's going to be Moses, I think, because they're going to be able to do plagues, wonders. They're going to be the 2 prophets walking around during the 7-year tribulation. And his disciples asked him, "Why then are the scribes saying that Elijah must come first?" Jesus answered and said to them, "Indeed, Elijah is coming first and will restore all things." So he's agreeing with them and telling them he will. "But I say to you that Elijah has already come, and they did not know him, but did to him whatever they wished likewise." So he's also referring to Elijah's spirit in John the Baptist, which is interesting because the Nephilim, demon spirits, linger on the earth. When the men are around, the angels, spirits impregnated or possessed women, and then they had sex with other possessed men that are demon possessed, and they created this Nephilim and giants and maybe even angels somehow, because the Holy Spirit didn't have sex with Mary, but it impregnated Mary. So these spirits are real. So Elijah's spirit was in John the Baptist, which was interesting. Jesus answered and said to them, "Indeed, Elijah is coming first to restore all things. But I say to you, Elijah has already come. They did not know him, but did whatever they wished. Likewise, the Son of Man is also about to suffer in their hands." Then the disciples understood that he spoke to them about John the Baptist. Let's see what John MacArthur says about that. The Jewish leaders had failed to recognize John the Baptist. John came in the spirit of the power of Elijah and the Jewish leaders killed him. Okay, and when they had come to the multitude, a man came to him, kneeling down to him. So they came down from the mountain, and all the people were coming back to Jesus. So a man came, started kneeling to Jesus, saying, Lord, have mercy on me. Have mercy on my son, for he is epileptic and suffers severely. Wow, epileptic, huh? What is that? It's a pretty bad disease, I guess. And so, for he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. So he's severely demon possessed, and this demon's throwing him into fire and water, trying to kill him or hurt him. Then Jesus answered and said, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him here to me." Thank you, God. And Jesus rebuked the demon. So this is an unclean spirit from the Nephilim that was left over, that's now possessing human beings, which is, it goes pretty deep. Jesus said, fallen angels created the Nephilim, and then the disciples came to him. And then Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, "Why could we not cast it out?" So Jesus said to them, "Because of your unbelief." You got to believe, like Peter walking on the water. You got to keep your eyes focused on Jesus, or you're going to fall in the water if you start looking around and getting sucked up by the cares of this world. And you really could walk on water if you truly did believe. But it's very, very, I've never seen it. But it's possible. Peter did it. He was looking at Jesus. And the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, "Why could we not cast it out?" Jesus said, "Because of your unbelief. For surely I say to you, if you have faith of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will be moved. And nothing will be impossible for you." Wow. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. Wow. So we can even tell mountains to move, mountains of sin, mountains of problems, even like a physical mountain, if we truly did believe. But he said this demon needed belief, prayer, and fasting. So the interesting about fasting is sometimes we get sick, and there's something inside of us that starts killing us, and it causes a cancer. I'm not saying that's a demon, but it's interesting how he says fasting, because when you fast, your body cleanses itself, and it cleans itself from a lot of diseases. Like I had low iron, really low iron. I think I was at I think the minimum is supposed to be like 68, and I was at like 30 or 20, and I fasted for 10 days, and it went up. So fasting helps, and also connects you with God more too. You get more connected because you're denying the flesh. And there's another interesting thing. God loves the smell of fat burning. It's a pleasing aroma. When you fast, what happens? You're burning fat, right? All your fat is getting burnt off. Interesting, huh? It pleases God. So you're almost doing a fat sacrifice. Jesus again predicts his death. Okay, so now while they were staying in Galilee, Jesus said to them, "The Son of Man is about to be betrayed into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And the third day he will be raised up." And they were extremely sorrowful. So here again, Jesus is predicting he's going to die and be raised from the dead. Predicting his death. He's predicted so many things. Prophesying. When they had come to Capernaum, those who received the temple tax came to Peter and said, "Does your teacher not pay the temple tax?" He's God. He's literally the temple of God. And the temple's for him. But he said, "Yes." And when he come into the house, Jesus anticipated him, saying, "What do you think, Simon?" When he And when he had come into the house, Jesus anticipated him. So he knew Peter was coming, saying, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth take customs or taxes? From their sons or from strangers?" Since he's the Son of God. And then Peter said, the king's not going to take a tax from his son. He's going to take it from a stranger. Good answer, Peter. From strangers. Jesus said to him, "Then the sons are free. Nevertheless," wow, he didn't say the son, he said the sons. The sons in plural. So this could be even referring to all of God's people, which is interesting. Let's see what John MacArthur says about that. Doesn't have a footnote on that. Temple tax collected annually from every male over 20 for the upkeep of the temple, as kings did not tax their own sons. Technically, Jesus, as God's son, was exempt from the tax, but to avoid the offense, he paid it. So interesting. Sons could mean all of God's children, or it could mean, of course, the king's sons. "Nevertheless, lest we offend them, go to the sea, cast in a hook, and take the fish that comes up first. And when you have opened its mouth, you will find a piece of money. Take that and give it to them for me and you." All right. So if Jesus was on the Mount of Transfiguration with Peter, James, and John, and when he went down the mountain, the other disciples were there, this confirms that Jesus was over. Of course, he was like 30. You know, we kind of know he started his ministry at like 30, and they crucified him at 33. So Peter was the oldest one out of the 12 disciples because he was over 20, because that's the temple tax. So all the rest were under 20 years old, which is interesting because they didn't have to pay. I don't know how many were with him, but I'm assuming all of them. And the way that he paid it was pretty amazing with the fish. So that's chapter 17. I hope that sheds some light. If you like these videos, let me know. Share it with your friends. Give it a thumbs up. Do whatever you got to do. I'd love to keep making these, and I'm going to. And I was even thinking about reading the whole Bible through, which might be kind of crazy, or maybe a whole book or the New Testament. If you guys have any questions about anything, let me know. I did write down a couple questions that people ask. None's coming to the top of my mind right now, but well, I guess like one, for example, if you have sex with a girl, are you guys married? Does that count as marriage? Or why do I have to get a marriage certificate? Questions like that. And I've studied these in depth. And if you need a divorce certificate to divorce her, then you need to prove that you're married to her. And Jesus said, if you have sex with a prostitute, don't you know that two become one flesh? So you become one even with a prostitute, but you're not supposed to separate it. You're not supposed. So if you're instantly supposed to be linked. So David, I'm assuming, why he had so many wives is because when you had sex with them, you had to get married to them. And you can't just have sex with them and tell them, "Oh, you're not my wife anymore." So I can go more into depth, but if you have any questions like that, let me know. And hope this helped you guys. God bless you. Have a good day. Let's keep up the good fight. Iron sharpens iron. Bye.